I'm J.R. Church. Welcome to today's analysis of the news. Israeli Prime Minister Olmert is in Moscow this week. He is there to talk about Russia's selling military equipment to Syria and Iran. The article from the Associated Press reads, Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert arrived in Moscow on Monday, aiming to focus on Russian arms sales to Israel's enemies. Olmert's trip, which will include a meeting with President Dmitry Medvedev on Tuesday, will probably be one of his last diplomatic ventures. He has said that he will step down in December. That leaves him with little influence, and Medvedev's invitation may amount only to a respectful farewell. But Olmert said on Sunday he would emphasize Israel's security concerns, including, quote, the supply of arms to irresponsible elements whose activities worry us very much, end of quote. He also said that he would press for work to resolve, quote, the Iranian problem, where Russia plays a special role, end of quote. Iran says that it plans to buy from Russia advanced S-300 anti-aircraft missiles that could target aircraft sent to destroy its nuclear facilities. And Syria, which backs the Hezbollah guerrillas who battled Israel and Lebanon in 2006, reportedly has asked to buy these S-300 anti-aircraft missiles as well. And then finally, on this note, the situation in the Middle East, the peace process, the international priorities for its promotion will be among the central issue on the agenda as the Prime Minister of Israel goes to Russia, to Moscow, and asks for peace. At the same time, there is a little piece of ground in Jerusalem near the Western Wall that once belonged to Russia. Israel this week has given it back. So Russia has not a military presence, but a presence in Jerusalem nevertheless. So that's one article. Then there's another one here about Israel building a new missile defense shield to protect against rocket attacks. Israel realizes that the Hezbollah has thousands and thousands of rockets. And so this article from the London Telegraph by David Blair, I don't suppose any kin to the once Prime Minister, says the timing of this shield's deployment will be a vital factor influencing any Israeli decision to attack Iran's nuclear facilities. Iran could retaliate for a strike by using its key ally, Hezbollah, to fire missiles into Israel. Israeli officials believe these weapons are being held in reserve to aid Iran in the event of war. Facing this threat on its northern border, Israel will probably want to perfect its missile defenses before considering a strike on Iran. Two systems are now being developed. One, the Iron Dome, which protects against any short-range rockets. And second, the Magic Wand, which shields against missiles with longer ranges. This multi-layer shield is expected to become fully operational by the year 2010. My opinion is that would be a little late. Until then, Israel may prefer to avoid striking Iran. An Israeli military officer says we are now implementing a full-scale project to develop anti-rocket interception systems. He added that when this shield is operational, it will offer protection against every variety of rocket presently deployed by the Hezbollah and the Hamas. Now, as you may be aware, whenever a government announces that they are going to work on a system, that system is usually already done. It's a done deal. It's in place. They're just bringing out the news that they're going to be working on it. And this 2010, that's about a year and 3 months away. Probably before then. In my opinion, it's probably already in place. In fact, this article here has a picture of a missile on the back of a truck. I don't know that it would be Israeli, but I can tell you this. The Israelis don't give out classified information until there is a purpose for it, and they're ready for it. This may not be mere rhetoric or threat. to the Hezbollah. This may be that the missile defenses are already there. Let's hope so anyway, because Israel is going to face a war with the Hezbollah. This is a given. I mean, they have 40,000, some say. This article says 30,000. Some have estimated up to over 100,000, maybe 110,000 rockets of various kinds to lob into Israel. When will this war take place? I'm surprised it hasn't already started. But one of these days, it will begin. And when it does, Israel will pull out its big weapons. I'm convinced of that. I don't see Israel being able to win such a war with 40,000 rockets or more coming into their borders. Now, there are some who've suggested that if that happens, Israel could lose up to 1/3 of their population, the maybe Jewish and Arab population as well. Perhaps the Palestinians are, shall we say, dispensable. Nevertheless, Israel's enemies are planning for war, including Syria. When that happens, I believe that Israel will flatten those cities. And who knows, the battle of Gog and Magog may then begin. But here's Russia, or Israel's leader over in Russia, talking, kindly with the Russians, giving them property in Jerusalem, hoping that Russia will be civil about it and maybe will stop supporting Israel's enemies. That won't happen. We know what the Bible says. Ezekiel chapter 38, Russia's coming against Israel, Russia and Iran. It's just a matter of time. I'm J.R. Church. Tune in again tomorrow for our analysis on the news.